Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you? I like your new glasses.
Oh, these are another set of my audio glasses.
They're my you got them without
glasses. I don't love the shape, but I get to hear my books and my calls on it, so it's kind of nice.
I know, and I haven't got to tell you this yet, but my brother just got them in the sunglasses ones, and he is obsessed with them. Obsessed with them. So I think I'm gonna get Adam a pair for Christmas.
Good idea. Good idea.
A link to those. That's really cool.
They're from Bose. They're you can get sunglasses is really what you can get, but I had them make me a pair of regular glasses because I'm kind of blind without glasses. So I'm super excited, Dana, for our guest today, Miss Shannon Waller. Shannon is with Strategic Coach. I think you've been there pretty much since the beginning, right, Shannon?
30 years, which the company is officially incorporated in November of 88. First workshop was in 89, and I joined in July of 91.
Wow.
That's awesome. So cool. So that's cool. So in a Cliff Note version, Shannon, you were born and then what happened? And then we'd love to dive into your amazing books that you have that Dana and I are obsessed with.
Yes.
Well, Well, actually, some of the relevant stuff for this conversation is I have always been passionate about work. I think work is one of the best places for people to develop personally as well as professionally. And I have been passionate about teamwork since I was about 18 and I went to university. So I have been studying people in business since I went to university. I actually have a degree that's related to what I do, which is kind of unusual, at least for a lot of the folks I know. So that's, and then, worked with one previous company before Strategic Coach. Coach found me, I found them with some help, and then started in July of 1991 as a salesperson, actually. So that was my number one. And then kind of did sales for about 3.5 years, 3 years and 8 months. I was getting kind of bored. So I went back to school after I'd gotten my degree, got a certificate in I started a certificate in training and development. And they said, you have to come up with a training program. Now, having worked with Strategic Coach clients, one of the things that would happen is my clients would call me up and say, Shannon, can you please explain this to my team? Because apparently Strategic Coach to my team, because apparently I'm not doing a very good job. So I would attempt that. That was fun. And then finally a team member called me and said, Shannon, what have you done to my entrepreneur? They're acting different. I don't understand. And I was like, bing, a little light went on. So in this training design certificate program, the third course, which is, by the way, as far as I got, was coming up with the idea for a team program. Well, coming up with the idea for a program. So I thought, a program for team members to explain what the entrepreneurs are doing and coach. And if you can imagine, I was with a bunch of corporate HR managers, and then there was me. Wow. So that's a whole other story. But it was super interesting. And anyway, I came back and told Babs, co-founder of Coach with Dan Sullivan, how I'd done, which was like an A- or something. She said, great, let's do it. And I was like, what? Anyway, so the entire Strategic Coach team programs and my career is a strategic byproduct of a school project.
That's awesome.
That's how the whole thing kicked off. But I am passionate about team members. I am passionate about entrepreneurs. And really, my work for the past, since 1995, has been trying to bridge the gap because there's a great divide. And I am passionate about helping to bridge that and have people work better together.
I love it. So and I always have the ability to miss a few great projects that are going on. I know about the Team Success Handbook and I know about Unique Ability. What are some other team things that you've put together once Babs said, go for it?
All things team. Well, we have a bunch of programs within Strategic Coach available to Strategic Coach clients. We've got the Strategic Assistant program for people's direct assistants. We've got the Team Tools program. We've got a Team Leader program, which is really fun for entrepreneurial team leaders. We do on-site workshops where we come in and work with our clients and their teams. But stuff that's available more to everyone is my Team Success podcast, my Team Success Handbook, which we're going to be talking about. And I also wrote Multiplication by Subtraction. Which is the subtitle is How to Gracefully Let Go of Wrong Fit team members,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes they're not a right fit. But there's a lot of things you can do in advance of that. But then if it's not working, how to actually gracefully exit. So I want all teams to be fabulous. And and I have another book, which I've been working on forever, called Teamwork Triads. It's kind of like the missing secret to teamwork, because so many entrepreneurs are the make it up people. They need to make it real and then make it recur team members. And those are different beasts. So that book is not yet finished. It's been started, but that's the next thing that I'll be coming up with.
Well, let me know, and I'll be sure to tell you all the things I need you to answer my questions in that book, because I have a really hard time deciding what do I really need to make, and how do I find the make it real, and then what's the difference in the make it reoccur. Those people just boggle my mind. I had 2 interviews this morning, so I have lots of great questions for you. But
yeah. And what is one, and how do they prioritize is 100%. That stuff is actually, that's what I do have captured and written down. So I might be able to help you now.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So Dana and I both have used the Team Success Handbook. I mean, we give it to anybody who joins the team. So I'm going to kick off with the first question. Then Dana, I know you have plenty also, but in here it talks about, this is for the team member to read once they are going to work for an entrepreneur, which, by the way, realtors are the ultimate entrepreneur. And it talks about create value, take initiative, focus on results, have an ownership attitude, be in alignment, be a partner, take action, be open, communicate, learn how to handle strong emotions, have patience and compassion, and don't give up. And so my question to you is, isn't this something that someone already brings to the table, or do you believe this is something that is teachable once they know what's expected?
That is a really great question. And the answer is, ideally, if you've attracted a right fit person to you, these mindsets, this value system, because it really is a value system as well, is something that ideally resonates with people. However, it's usually at the level of unconscious, I could even say subconscious, and it's not necessarily front and center. And a lot of people, it's interesting why I wrote the book. In the beginning, the introduction took me the longest, because I've been coaching on these 12 different mindsets for 10 or 11 years before I wrote the book, which was a few years ago now. And what I recognized was that people coming to work with entrepreneurs were trained usually through larger institutions, through corporate environments. So even if they did have the mindsets, it was kind of trained out of them, which is super frustrating. And if someone was a great right fit for corporate, I'm sorry, they're usually a wrong fit for an entrepreneurial team. But if someone's kind of chafing under the restrictions of a corporate structure, that's kind of a clue that they could be a right fit for you. So for example, one of the parts of the book is that, do you understand that you might be paid, or referencing the time and effort economy, where you get paid for your time and get paid for your effort, but the person you're working with, I won't even say for, the person you're working with is actually in the results economy. No guaranteed income, right? They find their only security is an opportunity. Not on having someone else be, especially real estate. You have to create every single step of the process to create your own success and financial well-being, right? So it's ultimate entrepreneurship. And so even though team members might get paid every 2 weeks, most of them like that security. If they're not focused on results that their entrepreneur they're working with is also aligned on, they're dead in the water. It's not going to. They'll be like, oh, but I put in all the time and effort. And the entrepreneur's going to be like, and we didn't get the result. Neither are wrong. Both are right, but they're coming at it from a different perspective. So it's really, once I kind of explain that context, I have seen so many eyes go, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
Right? Just even having, pardon me, that very simple distinction is vital. And I'm like, okay, I actually need to be focused on the results that we're up to. I am actually in the results economy, even though I have some security. So even just understanding that basic context of entrepreneurship is huge. Another one, which I think you guys will both relate to, is so many people, put it this way. I think 20% of people are probably hardcore corporate. That's where they belong. I think 20% are hardcore entrepreneurial. That's where they belong. There's 60% in the middle that could probably go either way. Right. So, but until it's actually been made clear and conscious and aware, then they can do it more intentionally. The other big distinction I have is since we don't have bosses, we don't have people telling us what to do. Hopefully we've got great coaches and guides and mentors, aka you guys, but really we're not asking for permission much ever. Right? Or I think I'll try this and ask for forgiveness if someone gets mad. Right? So the basic mindset is an ask for forgiveness mindset. The basic mindset of a team member is to ask for permission. And then so the entrepreneur's waiting for the other person to take some initiative and do something and try. This person's waiting for permission and like, why aren't I getting it? And they just don't get it. So a lot of times I'll coach team members to ask for permission. Like be proactive, not just wait. And I'll actually coach entrepreneurs to like, okay, give your team permission to take initiative. They do. So even if you do have someone with potentially the right talents and skills, they're often missing the language, the tools, the context, the mindset for them to be super effective. So just putting it from, again, that underlying level to something that they can actually measure themselves on, coach themselves. I think words are tools. So I love to give people the language that they need sometimes because we can be a little interesting to work for. Really empowers them to actually step up and be the most contributing team member and their own personally fulfilled person they can be in your company.
Love it.
Love that. It. Oh, so Shannon, okay, if someone's looking at all of the 12 entrepreneurial attitudes and they're looking at the chart that I've looked at many times and worked through on the rating of kind of the people, I sometimes get stuck and think, okay, there's no perfect person. So when we're looking at this, so when we're looking at this and we're rating our people, like what really, or they're rating themselves, what really are you, I don't want to say looking for. I mean, if not everybody's all fives in every single thing, how do you handle that? Because I feel like I have different team members who have different strengths than others. Does that make sense?
100%. It's interesting. I actually have a really good answer for you, at least on one of the points. And it came out of a great team taster workshop we did yesterday for clients. And that almost the number one consideration is that people need to be in alignment about what the company is up to.
Okay.
Your purpose, your vision, your mission, and I sometimes say alignment's like number 9 or something like that. Oh no, it's actually number 5. But I said sometimes it could be number 1, right? If someone's not in alignment with what you're up to, even the fact, let me put it this way, I hired not 1, not 2, but 3 people whose goal in life was to work for a nonprofit. Coach is not a nonprofit company.
Wow, right.
That should have been a clue, like duh, right? I just thought they would be fine. It wasn't. I mean, they were great people and they did contribute while they were there, but it was a short-term relationship. So it didn't really make sense. So just in alignment with what you're up to, like strategic coaches' reason for being is to expand entrepreneurs' success, freedom, and happiness. That's why we're here. So if someone who doesn't want to be a hero to entrepreneurs, please don't come work at Coach. That would be a really bad, dumb idea. So it's really important that people have alignment. I think a lot of the other ones, frankly, are coachable. Okay. If someone's willing. I ask, so this is how I coach it. And this might be a great takeaway for everybody. And by the way, anyone can download the exercises because this whole book is actually the offshoot of an exercise I've been coaching for a long time, as I mentioned. So if you can go to yourteamsuccess.com, there's a download where you can do what's called the entrepreneurial attitude exercise. And I have people score themselves on a scale of 1 never and 5 always. I really never expect to see a 1. Just saying, I do hope to see 5s. And I said, okay, identify the 2 you do best and the 1 you most want to improve. And that one may not be your lowest score. So for every company, every situation, every team, every organization, there's sometimes a different pain point, right? So for some people, it's communication. For some people, the one, by the way, it's really funny that people tend to score themselves lowest on is to learn how to handle strong emotions.
I figured so.
That's the one they most want to improve. And then entrepreneurs, when they've done it, I'm like, well, I really hope you have an entrepreneurial attitude. But entrepreneurs score themselves the lowest on communicate.
Yeah, that would be. So we're having you're having your team score themselves by using this worksheet and then bring it back to the entrepreneur and share it and go through it, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I do it as a coaching exercise, right? So I always have people celebrate where their highest scores are, which are usually a 4, right? It's not terrible. And then the one they most want to improve that may not be their lowest, but it actually would be the most strategic, have the best impact if they got better at it. And it tends to go around, as I said, number 10, learning how to handle strong emotions, being open. Sometimes it's taking initiative, sometimes it's focusing on results. But it's so you can have people, you can use this as a one-to-one. It's like you could score a person and have them score themselves and compare. Because that's actually what I see. Yeah, that's actually what I see to be the problem. Someone thinks they're a 5 and you think they're a 2.
Okay,
right?
That's my problem.
And you
yes.
Everybody's a 2.
It gives you a chance to get on the same page. You're like, oh, but you have to, I have to say, you have to be in your best coaching self. If you're mad or ticked off, this is not going to go well.
Right.
So you have to be like, oh, this is really interesting. Tell me what makes you think that. And guess what? You might learn that they have been more open, or they've been focused on different results, or they have been communicating just to somebody else. You had to kind of have to keep it open, and then you can share your answer if that's appropriate, or maybe you'll change your score and say, okay, and here's what I'm looking at, and here's what would really help me score you higher on this. And so it gives you a chance to identify the differences. Now, the other way you can use it, and this kind of goes back to your original question, I think, Linda, which is I sometimes slide this across the table in the hiring. I don't necessarily ask someone to score themselves. The likelihood of you getting an accurate result is slim.
Yeah,
because someone's trying to put their best self forward. Yeah, they're optimistic about their capabilities. Let's put it that way. They're not intentionally trying to fool you, but people are a little like best foot forward. This is who they want to be. It may not be who they actually are, but you can say this is what the success mindset, strategies, habits are of the people here who stick, who land, who do well. So if this resonates with you, this will be an amazing home. If it does not, you should probably know that exiting the hiring process would be a good thing to do.
I love
and so and you sort of give it to give it to them to take away. So I never ever make someone score themselves in the moment. That would just be weird. I wouldn't trust the answers anyway. But if they get excited, they're like, oh my gosh, I have been looking for somewhere where this was true. Right. Because by the way, I didn't come up with all these by myself. Okay. I came up with these 12 attitudes because I was coaching the initial strategic coach team programs. And I was saying to my friend of mine, Ross, I said, stuff's only sinking in about this far. And I was really annoyed. It was like really shallow. And I'm like, there needs to be something else. And then that was the attitude. So then we looked at who are the most successful team members in strategic coach, who are the most successful team members in our clients. What are their attitudes and mindsets? This was actually Coach's first mindset scorecard, I think.
Wow.
Which is cool. Dan calls it that. I didn't call it back then. And so we figured out the 12, and that's how it happened. So this is based on real humans, real people in terms of how they're successful. So using it in the hiring to say, this is what's expected of you and how we want you to show up. People are like, oh, great, or oh, no. So it helps you sift, sort, and screen in the right people and out the wrong people, which is a great time saver.
Shannon, what if you've already had people that say you weren't using it during the hiring, you were using it with people that have worked for you for 3, 4, 5 years for the first time? What would be your advice on the first communication with them? Like, if they're like, why am I filling this out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, actually, we have a ton of people do that. So I actually created a Team Success video series. It's complimentary for people inside the program, but you can also purchase it. So it's coached. You don't have to do it. It makes a great little book study group.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Actually, people just read the chapters and then talk about them one at a time, which is kind of cool. So it's like, hey guys, let's just up our entrepreneurial game. And if someone resists that, you have a different problem.
Yeah.
Then you need the multiplication by subtraction book.
Yeah, that's if they're not a right fit.
Grab the other book.
That's why I wrote that too, right? And yeah, so that's kind of what I would say about that is just, hey guys, let's just up our entrepreneurial game. I mean, honest to God, I wrote this for ADHD entrepreneurs with really short attention spans, or entrepreneurial team members who are super busy and don't have a ton of time. So it's very short and succinct. That's because I mean those categories too. So it's to the point. It's not extraneous. There isn't extraneous stuff in there. It's all pretty bottom line. So, but it really does drive some really fun, interesting conversations, and people can, it's great to take the entrepreneurial attitude exercise, have them score themselves now, go through the book together. Cost, I mean, I priced it so it's cheap for every person to have their own copy. It's not $1 million a book. And then score themselves at the end. Like, what kind of progress have they made? That's really powerful. And, I was coaching a team a week or two ago. And one of the things that they said they loved about their company, because I asked them, was like how entrepreneurial it was, and how everyone had the freedom to accomplish the results their way. They weren't micromanaged. And, and the owners appreciated the context that coaches helped provide them for that. So it's, people, if the right-minded people will actually eat this up.
Yeah.
And it's written for team members to have a better life, right? Like, it's not meant to say, do this or you're an idiot. It's meant to be, here's the success formula so you can be a total rock star and fulfill all your dreams. Because I think that's true.
Yeah. Shannon, when I look at this, I know for me, and Dana's probably the same way, I want to try to incorporate as much of this on the front end, because I don't want to get another wrong person in the wrong spots. And I know a lot of our realtor tribe out there is the same way. They're almost afraid to hire, afraid they're going to get the wrong one. So, so couple of questions. If you were you said something on the front end about, the corporate world would kind of be shaping these people. What would be some clues on the front end that you could look for? Because to me, once you bring this in, if you're having to bring this, book in with the team, and then you got a decision to make, because you got to decide, okay, are all these team players going to be okay and play by this success handbook, or we got some issues?
Yeah.
So what would be some ideas that you would tell people that either have tried hiring in the past and they didn't successfully get this ideal teammate, or what would be some things, knowing what you know now, that you'd put in on the front end? Like here's an example. I've put some staff before into y'all's team training that you have.
Oh yeah.
And then I figured out, based on their answers, when I would ask them about that stuff, they were the wrong team members, because they didn't find value. They know how to do it better. I mean, all the stuff that you go, red flags here. But what,
not open-minded.
number whatever.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest to people on the front end to help get people who, when they see that? I've also handed this book to people and they're like, yes, I love it. Oh, and they're so happy because this is who they are.
Yeah. Well, first of all, broadcast who you are out into the world. Like, I actually think that talent marketing, which I'm sure is someone else's trademark, that term, but I like it. Marketing for talent the same way that you would market for clients is really important right now. And one of the best ways to do that is to market your core values, to market your mission. And because then you will, to your point, attract similar people with a very similar mindset. Here's the deal. I don't know how to change someone's value system. By age 13, it's probably that point factory installed, right? You're not going to really, but what you want to be able to do is attract the right fit mindset people and repel the other ones. So what you want to do is market who you are, what's important to you, what values do you hold dear. And you want someone with a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset, to use the Carol Dweck term. So that's really important. So there's a couple things when you're hiring people. There are really three different things that I look at. One is their cognitive capabilities. Are they smart? Are they intelligent? If you have a fast brain, you need to hire someone with a fast brain. Okay. I didn't realize, I thought everyone was kind of like the same until after you profile for everything else and to fit, and they still don't work out. There's only one thing left. That's cognitive mental horsepower, right? So that's one thing. Then there's the affect, which is fancy psychological term for personality or preferences or someone's heart. You know, what do they desire? What are they passionate about? What type of environment do they thrive in? And then there's how they take action, which is their will. And my hand's on my gut right now. So I relate it to body parts. So head, heart, gut. So it's cognitive, affective, and what's called conative. And Colby, KOLBE.com is one of the things that we profile for to see how someone strives and takes action. But people only strive towards things that they care about. Right? It's like instincts are one thing, but striving instincts are very much when you care to strive, when you want to employ your efforts and your will. So you have to kind of make sure this is strictly in the affect realm. What do people care about? And it's interesting. You just reminded me, because good to look at this again on page 9, which is the preface. I have a little chart between the difference between an entrepreneurial company and a bureaucratic one. Right? So I start asking some questions. You know, is it exciting or frustrating to work in an environment that's unstructured? You know, do you prefer learning by doing or learning by researching? You know, one of the questions you want to be able to ask, and I don't know how to ask it directly, but are people focused on status? If one of the first questions they ask is, you know, what title do I get, and do I get the corner office? The nice thing about Zoom is it's eliminated corner offices, just saying. You know, it's very status oriented. That's a no. That's just an automatic no in my world. If they need to be focused on contribution, right? Like we don't expect opportunity until we first create value. We need someone else who's going to do that too. So it's like, how well do you tolerate ambiguity? Right? Or do you need how much certainty do you require? Are you okay with the fluid environment versus do you prefer a more structured or rigid one? Are you focused on results versus time and effort? So there's a kind of like just a little chart you can riff off of some of those questions to find out if someone needs to be told what to do all the time. I'm sorry, they don't belong with us.
Yeah.
Right? That takes. I just started 2.5 weeks ago with my brilliant new, I call her my strategic support partner. Other people would call them an EA, executive assistant. Strategic assistant is the term that we coined years ago at Coach. But it's like, I want her managing me, not the other way around.
Yeah.
God forbid, I'm the worst manager on the planet. You know, I want someone helping me organize my time, activity, and relationships. You know, help me be strategic in terms of what efforts I'm putting out. So I'm very direct and clear about what the expectations are for how someone's going to show up. I don't want to be telling you what to do. I want you to help me figure out what to do. Yes. I'll give direction. I'm a great leader, not a great manager. So I'm very like, someone needs to be self-managing to work with us. Right. So those are the types of conversations I would have. And it's not that I try to scare people away, but I'm really clear. And so they're like, oh, great, or oh no. Yeah. I try and make it very binary, put it that way.
Yeah, love it. And you could almost use that graph on page 9 and ask questions around that. And if the things that are shaping them about the corporate world, then that right side would be bothering them. Those would be the things that would be irritating to them.
Yeah. I had someone once who she actually worked for the police department and talked very glowingly about her status of working for someone who was, I don't know if he was the chief, but he was something. And this is in Canada, so we have slightly different terms than you do. And that should have been a massive clue. And she would go around and brag to the other team members that she worked with me because she thought I had a lot of status in our company, which, yes, I've been around forever. That's not how we roll.
Yeah.
And that should have been, and she wasted other people's time. She would sit in their cubbies and they're like, I got stuff to do. You know, so she was so status oriented. So anyway, she ended up leaving. And then she, a couple of years later, applied again. And I was like, no, under no circumstances could she join our company. So that was kind of a clue. Wow. Yeah. So you really want to pay attention to how people talk and how they talk about their previous experiences. Status seemed to be super important to them, their title, or they're like, ask them about their contributions. You know, there's ways to kind of suss that out, but you'll get a pretty cool, I was going to say vibe, but you'll get a read on them pretty quickly, I think.
And I think the more people read this success handbook themselves, the entrepreneur, the more they'll know questions to ask and they'll know what to look for.
Yeah. I wrote this book so that entrepreneurs didn't have to.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. So Katrina, who's the testimonial on the back, she's such a sweetheart. Like, she had an early copy of it, and she came back into the workshop because I was her coach, and she goes, "Shannon, this book is great. I highlighted the book." And she literally showed me she'd highlighted half of it. So I tried to crawl inside your head and say what you would think, and that's hopefully what it accomplished. I'm so happy when people say that that's what happened. But this is why this is you handing this book over to someone is like, this is me, and they're like, oh, now I get it. And here's the challenge: the language of business, corporate entrepreneurial, is the same. Cash flow, clients, customers, teams, assets, finance, all of that. The language of business is the same. Very different meaning in an entrepreneurial world. You know, the idea of a growth plan or a growth path for someone in a corporate structure is so delineated.
Yeah.
In an entrepreneurial structure, it's like, well, how'd you create value last week?
Yeah.
That's so true.
Your job description is probably going to change every 2 days. You know, it could, depending on what comes up. So if someone can't tolerate that, bless them. I'm thrilled there are people who are designed for corporate environments. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy some of them exist. But are they a right fit for us? Probably not.
Awesome. Love it. Dana, do you have as we wrap up on this topic, do you have a final question from you? And then Shannon, I'd like a final thought to anyone out there about the Team Success Handbook. So Dana, what's your last question?
Okay, I would say and we might have to have you do one more episode, Shannon. We might have to have like Shannon 3 parts, because I know that there's somebody. Yes. I know that there's somebody that's listening that right now probably needs to have a conversation, or might have somebody that's in a role that shouldn't be in the role. And you talked about the other book, Multiply by Subtraction. Is that right? I think that might be one of the only small books from Strategic Coach that I have not read. So I'll be ordering that one today. What can you give just like one high level kind of thought around that?
Oh, I'd love to. So again, I'm super passionate about people having right fit teams around them and people being successful in business.
Yeah.
Right. And actually for that situation that you just described, Dana, this book is actually perfect because it's really about, you know, it is that 3 parts of the mind: the cognitive, the affective, and the cognitive. And sometimes someone is a disaster over here, but could be a brilliant rock star over there. And you don't want to lose them because they already know you. They know your company. They know your clients. So that's most of the book is like, here's what you need to understand. I also have, this is my favorite part of the book, I put together, again, from other people, symptoms and the resulting cost of, like, if you see certain behaviors, a misfit on values, by the way, a misalignment on values is an automatic exit. But it's kind of a clue. So you get all of these clues. And if you check off more than 4 or 5, there's a problem. But it also gives you that whole, you know, kind of diagnostic about what to look for and to see whether or not someone could be moved around. You know, I've met people whose personality is very quiet. They don't tell their face how they're feeling, and they're on the front desk, and you're like, oh goodness, how did that happen? But you put them farther backstage, you know, in a much more administrative role, if that's how their talents play out, and they're incredible. Right. So it's amazing, but you need some of those tools and those profiles to help you figure out whether or not someone actually is a right or wrong fit. And then you know how to move them into a more productive place, or, as the expression goes, free them up to the marketplace so they can find a better fit for themselves.
Yeah. You're so
I love that. What'd you say, Dana?
I was just going to say, I said she's so spot on. And actually the episode that we're going to do next on unique ability, that exercise with all of my teams, like, has completely flipped upside down my organization. And I've moved at least 6 or 7 people into different seats on the bus. Like right now we're moving 4 market centers to have one MCA hub, one person that's going to cut the commission checks for all of those people, of all those offices, because that's her unique ability. And she can do it from when she wakes up till when she goes to bed, and she loves it, and it gives her energy. And the other people, that wasn't giving them energy, yet there were other things that were giving them energy. So we've been like moving everybody around, trying to kind of figure out how we can operate that. And some people aren't with us any longer, and then other ones are, and they're going to be in a better spot that they love what they're doing every day. So I think all of this just ties together, and it's so good.
Yes.
It totally is. I love that. And I cannot wait to dive into that with unique ability, our next conversation. But just to go back to summarize, as you were saying, Linda, the Team Success Handbook, it really is important, I think, for entrepreneurs, business owners of all kinds, especially real estate, to really take yourself seriously. Don't assume that, you don't deserve the very best talent around you. Really invest in yourself, free yourself up. You have a gift, you have something powerful to contribute to the world. And when you can attract other people who are complementary to you with the right entrepreneurial attitude, it's a game changer. You were talking before we started, Linda, that people who really can kind of wrap their head around this team thing are the ones who excel. But, you have an entrepreneurial attitude, and there are people who don't want to take the full risk that you do, but frankly, love working with people like you.
Yeah.
Go find them. They're out there, and hopefully this book will help give some language and bring it more conscious. But you deserve the very best. And there are people out there who are bored, in corporate environments, and are hungry to work with someone as interesting and as innovative as you are, as long as you free them up to our next conversation to do their unique ability. So I would just say, really, trust yourself, invest in yourself, surround yourself with people with an entrepreneurial attitude, and you will soar in terms of your own happiness and success.
And from experience, you will have so much more fun doing what you do. I was going to tell you real quick, Dana has met Sarah, one of my latest hires. When she read this book, she learned a lot about herself. She said, what I realized is when I'm not confident, I move to the more of kind of organizational and assistant side.
Yes.
But yet she had worked in corporate worlds, and she said, I realized what I love being is in an entrepreneurial world. She said, I could never figure out what it was until I read this book, and I realized that I only lean towards more backstage administrative type stuff when I lack confidence. And I really thrive being in more of an entrepreneurial world. So anyway, we moved her to a team lead position, and that's the position I'm now hiring for, which reminds me, I can't wait to get in the unique ability, because of that unique ability exercised, I would have left her in a job that she was excelling at, and yet it wasn't motivating and energizing. So stay tuned for episode 2 with Shannon Waller on unique ability. Shannon, I just want to say thank you for writing an amazing book with your team, or whoever helped you with the Team Success Handbook. It's been invaluable. You got to grab it, whether you've hired anybody yet or not. Whether you have people on your team, it's a gift no matter where they are and what stage you're in hiring or succeeding through people or whatever. And I just want to remind you, if you haven't, hit subscribe below. And if you can think of anyone who would benefit from our conversations that Dana and I have on a regular basis, be sure and pass our podcast along. And the greatest compliment you can give us is a 5-star review at the bottom, so that other people find our podcast also. And I just want to say, Dana, I will talk to you real soon, maybe next week, maybe in a few hours, who knows when. And Shannon, I just want to say thank you so much for working with us and talking with us today about the Team Success Handbook. It's been invaluable to our team.
Yes. It's a true pleasure. Thank you for loving it the way that you do. I appreciate that.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.